Oh my! Leap Castle. A place where stone walls remember every whisper, every scream, every drop of blood spilled within them. Some call it Ireland's most haunted fortress, a title earned not by superstition alone, but by centuries of betrayal, murder, and the restless dead who still wander its halls. Tonight, I shall take you inside, beyond the heavy gates and into the shadows where history and horror intertwine. Dare you step across the threshold with me?
Prepare for a deep dive into one of the most enigmatic and terrifying places on our planet. Imagine a place where the very stone breathes history, where every crack in the walls holds secrets from centuries past, and where the thin line between life and death seems to have been permanently blurred. A place so imbued with pain, betrayal, and mystery that it is not just a castle, but an epicenter of paranormal activity, a beacon for restless souls who refuse to find peace. We are talking about Leap Castle, nestled in the verdant landscapes of Ireland, a name that echoes in the annals of paranormal history as the most haunted castle in the world. Its reputation precedes it, and for good reason. But what, exactly, gives this castle such a macabre distinction? Why do its ancient walls, built with sweat and blood, still resonate with the echoes of past lives, of forgotten tragedies, and of presences that, for some reason, stubbornly refuse to leave? Is it the violence of its past, the cruelty of its lords, or perhaps something older and more primordial that has taken root in its soil? Prepare for an unprecedented journey into the heart of darkness, where logic bends before the inexplicable, and the line between the real and the ethereal dissolves into a mist of mystery. Today we will unravel the darkest secrets, the most chilling legends, and the most terrifying hauntings that inhabit Leap Castle. To truly understand the intensity and persistence of the hauntings that infest Leap Castle, it is imperative that we delve deep into its history, a saga that unfolds like an intricate tapestry, woven with threads of uninterrupted violence, family betrayal, and an incalculable amount of death. Built around the year 1250 AD by the O'Bannon clan, the castle, originally known by the Gaelic name, meaning Leap of the O'Bannons, a reference to a local legend about a deadly challenge between brothers, rose on a site that, long before its foundations were laid, was already considered sacred and mystical. Archaeological evidence suggests continuous occupation of the area since the Iron Age, and possibly even since the Neolithic period, indicating that this soil has always been a point of convergence of energies, both natural and perhaps supernatural. But it was the rise and arrival of the feared and relentless O'Carroll clan that truly sealed the dark and bloody fate of this place, transforming it into a stage for unspeakable horrors. The year 1532 marked a turning point in the already turbulent history of Leap Castle. After the death of Mulrooney O'Carroll, the clan leader, a brutal and fratricidal power struggle erupted among the remaining brothers. The climax of this bloody and inhumane rivalry occurred in the heart of the castle, in its private chapel, a place that, since then, is sadly and appropriately known as the Bloody Chapel. Thaddeus O'Carroll, one of the brothers, who had embraced religious life and become a priest, was celebrating Mass for his own family, a moment of supposed peace and devotion. It was then that his rival brother, the merciless Teig Caol O'Carroll, burst into the sacred place. In an act of unimaginable and profane betrayal, Teig plunged his sword into Thaddeus's back, who fell agonizingly onto the altar, dying amidst his own blood, before the horrified eyes of his loved ones. This profane act not only stained the chapel with innocent blood, but, legends say, also with the tormented soul of the priest, who refuses to leave the site of his brutal death. Reports of his presence include inexplicable lights emanating from the chapel windows, even in the total absence of electricity, and the persistent and unsettling smell of burning rubber, which appears and disappears without any apparent source, a ghostly reminder of his final agony. But the bloody chapel, however horrific its history, is not the only place of unspeakable horror in Leap Castle. Below it, hidden in the depths of the earth, lies an oubliette, a secret and forgotten dungeon, designed not to imprison, but to eliminate. Prisoners, often enemies or traitors, were thrown into this dark and damp pit, without any hope of escape. They fell onto sharp stakes, and their bodies were left to slowly rot, feeding the soil with their misery. During the extensive restorations of the castle, a macabre discovery shocked the workers. Thousands of human skeletons were found in this death pit, a silent and terrifying testament to the unimaginable cruelty that permeated the castle. The spirits of these victims, trapped in an eternal limbo of pain, despair, and agony, are often felt as an intense and penetrating cold that cannot be explained by ambient temperature, inaudible whispers that seem to come from nowhere, and inexplicable touches that make the skin crawl, as if the hands of the dead were still trying to reach the living, crying out for a justice that was never granted to them. It is a place where the very atmosphere seems heavy with the accumulated suffering of centuries. In the 17th century, the castle, through marriage, passed into the possession of the Derby family. It was during the period when Jonathan Charles Derby was the lord of the castle that his wife, Mildred Derby, a fascinating and controversial figure, entered the scene. Mildred was a renowned writer of Gothic novels, with a mind geared towards the macabre and the supernatural, and a fervent enthusiast of the occult. Driven by insatiable curiosity and a burning desire to make contact with the beyond, she began to conduct seances within the castle's ancient walls. Her search for knowledge and communication with the spiritual world, however, may have had catastrophic consequences. Many believe that her reckless experimentation opened a portal, a rift in reality, allowing something much older, more malevolent and more powerful than she could imagine to cross into our plane of existence. She herself described a terrifying entity, a creature with a putrid and unbearable smell, described as half human and half animal, with black, empty eyes that seemed to absorb all light, and a nauseating odor of sulfur and decaying flesh. This is the legend of the Elemental, one of the most feared and repulsive hauntings of Leap Castle. Its manifestation is often preceded by an overwhelming sense of oppression and a biting cold that chills the bones. It is believed that Mildred Derby, in her reckless curiosity, inadvertently invoked this entity, which is now permanently linked to the castle, a pure and concentrated manifestation of malevolence that feeds on fear and despair. It is a presence that makes even the most skeptical question the nature of reality. In addition to the darkest and most terrifying entities that inhabit its depths, Leap Castle is also home to a fascinating and sometimes poignant gallery of spirits, each adding a unique layer to its already legendary haunted reputation. Among the best known, and paradoxically, the most friendly, are the two girls, Emily and Charlotte. They are often seen playing innocently through the castle corridors, especially in the Great Hall, where their childlike energies seem most concentrated. Unlike other apparitions that inspire fear, Emily and Charlotte are considered benevolent presences, their childlike laughter echoing through the corridors like an echo of a simpler time, a melancholic and bittersweet contrast to the darkness and tragedy that surround them. They are a poignant reminder that not all supernatural presences are threatening, but even so, they are trapped souls, unable to find peace and passage to the afterlife, condemned to relive their childhood in an eternal loop. But the most famous and perhaps the most tragic of the apparitions that haunt Leap Castle is the enigmatic Red Lady. Frequently seen in the Blue Room, which in times past served as a nursery, and in other isolated parts of the castle, she is described as a tall and slender figure, enveloped in a long and vibrant red dress, with brown hair falling over her shoulders. In her hand, she invariably carries a dagger, which she raises in a threatening gesture, as if about to deliver a fatal blow. Two main legends surround her story, both permeated by deep sadness and violence. One version suggests that she was a brutal victim of rape by one of the merciless O'Carrolls, became pregnant, and her newborn baby was cruelly murdered by clan members. In a final act of despair and agony, she took the same dagger that took her child's life and took her own. Another equally grim version suggests that she desperately tried to escape the cruelty and tyranny of the O'Carrolls, but was relentlessly pursued and stabbed to death within the castle walls. Her presence is a constant and painful reminder of the pain, violence, and injustice that permeate the castle's history, a spirit trapped in an eternal cycle of suffering and revenge, unable to find rest. The echoes of the bloody battles and incessant conflicts that shape the history of Leap Castle also manifest vividly in its hauntings. Apparitions of O'Carroll clan soldiers, some still wearing their rusty and blood-stained armor, are frequently reported, wandering through the castle's corridors and courtyards. They are the silent guardians of a violent past, perhaps condemned to relive their last hours of combat, or simply trapped in the place where their lives were brutally cut short. In addition to these martial figures, there are reports of a guardian, a protective and benevolent spirit that manifests to ward off negative energies, protect the castle's inhabitants from evil influences, or even guide the lost. It is a faint light of hope and protection amidst the overwhelming darkness that permeates the castle, a counterpoint to the more sinister presences. Leap Castle's reputation as the most haunted castle in the world is not merely a collection of folkloric legends or ghost stories told by the fireside. On the contrary, it is solidified by a myriad of inexplicable paranormal phenomena that have been consistently reported over the centuries and, in many cases, rigorously documented by internationally renowned paranormal investigation teams. Abrupt and inexplicable drops in temperature, which can make the air freeze in a matter of seconds, sounds of dragging footsteps echoing in empty corridors, indistinct whispers that seem to come from nowhere, and terrifying screams that cut through the silence of the night are common experiences for those who venture within its ancient walls. Objects moving on their own, doors opening and closing without drafts, lights flickering or appearing out of nowhere, and the overwhelming and unmistakable sensation of being watched, touched, or even pushed by an invisible force are frequent reports that send shivers down the spine. Furthermore, strange and disturbing smells, such as sulfur, decaying flesh, or paradoxically, fresh flowers, appear and disappear without any logical source, adding a sensory layer to the already charged supernatural atmosphere. Leap Castle's notoriety has attracted the attention of some of the world's most respected and courageous paranormal investigators. Renowned television shows have dedicated entire episodes to this location, capturing visual and auditory evidence that reinforces its fame. In addition, popular YouTube channels have brought their cameras and equipment inside the castle, documenting their own terrifying experiences and adding more testimonies to the vast collection of reports. The castle's current owners, who dedicate their lives to the restoration and preservation of this historic monument, live with these presences daily. Their personal stories and first-hand testimonies add an invaluable layer of authenticity to the castle's legend, proving that what happens at Leap Castle goes far beyond mere imagination. At the end of our journey through Leap Castle, it is clear that this place is much more than a simple ancient stone structure. It is a portal to the past, a living repository of pain, betrayal, mystery, and undeniably intense paranormal activity. Its walls have witnessed centuries of human history, of glory and horror, and the souls who lived, suffered, and died there seem to stubbornly refuse to leave their earthly home. Whether you are a convinced skeptic or a fervent believer in the supernatural, it is undeniable that there is something deeply disturbing, fascinating, and inexplicable about this place. The agonizing screams that still echo from the bloody chapel, the nauseating and oppressive stench of the elemental, the innocent and melancholic laughter of the girls Emily and Charlotte, and the tragic and vengeful presence of the Red Lady, all these manifestations contribute to the unmistakable aura of Leap Castle, the most haunted castle in the world. It serves as a dark and powerful reminder that some stories, however old, never truly die, and that some spirits, however much we wish them to find peace, never achieve it, remaining trapped between worlds. And perhaps, just perhaps, it is better that some doors, especially those leading to such mysteries, remain forever closed, so that what is inside cannot get out, and what is outside cannot get in. What would you do if you spent a night at Leap Castle? I have told you what I know. Whether you believe it or not is entirely up to you.
And so, we leave Leap Castle behind, or perhaps it leaves us. Its stones have seen centuries of blood and betrayal, and its halls still echo with the footsteps of those who never truly departed. The Red Lady, the Elemental, and countless others remain within, waiting for the next soul curious enough to wander in. Should you ever find yourself before its gates, remember this night. For some doors, once opened, are never truly closed. I am Sebastian, your host. Until we meet again,